What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Kind of Funny podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Greg Miller, alongside the producer/seducer, Nick Scarpino.
Top of the morning to you, Greg.
It's the middle of the afternoon, almost evening, and how much of this Diet Coke have you drank in one day?
This is from yesterday. This was half yesterday, half today. So
That's
it's
not
fine. I
bad.
think that's acceptable.
Yeah, that's
levels.
acceptable, right? I guess that's acceptable for the.
There was
usual
also a
intake
Coke
of
Zero that went down too at some point, but we.
Oh, you had? Oh, was it a 2-liter Coke Zero or just a can of Coke Zero? Okay, we don't want to answer that question. I understand and respect it. Of course, he's Forbes 30 under 30, aka the second best baby blues in San Francisco, aka the verified one at Tim Gettys.
Lets him host. Nick came by my house today, as he normally does once a week, to pick up the mail for Kind of Funny. And we still do that thing because we're so used to quarantine of not seeing each other that we just want to talk to each other and like hang out for like 5 minutes more. Like I feel like a 17-year-old girl like with a boy in a car. We're just like, do we need to go in yet, or can we just keep talking? It's such a.
I was this close from being like, let's just go to Starbucks real quick.
Exactly. I would have said yes immediately.
We should have gone. I should have asked you next time.
And then joining us to fill Andy Cortez's spot, who was bitten in both eyes by snakes and fell down a set of stairs.
Wow.
She is published cookbook author Renee Paquette. Hello, Renee.
Hi. Oh my God. I'm so excited to hang out with you guys. There's so much to discuss. Specifically the Diet Coke situation.
Okay, we can get into that if you
really
want.
break
I'm not ashamed
down.
of it.
I'm impressed by it because I'm also a Diet Coke lover. And I don't feel that much shame by drinking my Diet Coke. But the other night, my husband and I went out for dinner. And what am I supposed to do except order Diet Cokes? And he's like, well, you're really throwing back those Diet Cokes. And I was like, first of all,
that's judgment. I don't like that judgment, first off. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. And then I was like, well, yeah, and I'm going to continue to. As you have whiskey, I'll have my Diet Coke. Everyone stay in their lane.
That's a dangerous game to play. Right now, Jen's only 20 weeks pregnant. And I have learned that if I even start, you know what? I'll pull it back. You know why? Why engage on this? Even if I think I'm making a fun joke, what mood is she going to be in? I'm not 100% sure.
That's the tricky part because there's times that I'll totally laugh at it because I know that it's like, it's open season. I'm 38 weeks pregnant. I am about to burst. And I find it funny. But sometimes when we're like around other people, I'm like, they might not know that you're joking.
Yeah.
So we went to the doctor's the other day and I stepped on the scale and he was like, well, almost time to take the pig off to market.
Wow.
So I'm laughing at it and the nurse was like,
Is this okay? Do you need help? Like, what do we do in this situation right now?
totally. Yeah. I'm like, John, like, read the room.
Yeah, no, I
Read the
early on
doctor's office.
even before pregnancy, I was instructed early on in our relationship that my simulated yell of like when I'm jokingly angry about something does not play in public, and I cannot do that because she always worried people are going to look around and think that I'm being serious. So I learned very quickly not to do that.
John does that all the time, and because he's such like a large, imposing man, and his voice is so deep. He can be very startling to people. So I'm like, oh my God.
See, Greg's not so much large or imposing. It's more just like he's just loud. There's just a loudness there.
I'm sorry, I'm 6'3". How tall are you, Nick?
Yeah, again, we're not going to get into specifics here, but I will say
Got you.
that there in the Scarpino household, there is an open feedback loop when it comes to the Diet Coke consumption because I need to be reminded occasionally, like today, that. Like here's what happened today. I came home from hanging out with Tim, and I was like, God, I got the worst headache today. And my wife was like, would you like some, when I have a headache, give you some Excedrin migraine or some, Advil or whatever. And I was like, yeah, that sounds good. And then she goes, wait a minute, stop, hold on. Have you had any water today? And I'm like, no, I have not had any water today. Which is like, what did you drink for beverages? And I'm like, 2 venti iced coffees and some Coke Zero.
God.
And she's like, all right, you're gonna drink some water real quick before we give you any medication. And you know what? Head feels great right now.
Yeah.
Water is the answer to everything. If you're bloated, water. If you're tired, water. Water is always the answer.
But it's so boring.
I know it
It's
sucks,
so stupid
but
and boring.
like,
Sparkle it up, Greg.
you could sparkle it up. I walk around with my hydro flask, and so long as there's ice in there, I guzzle these babies down.
I love coffee so much that I will wake up with a headache because I'm dehydrated from all the coffee I drank the day before. And then rather than drink water to get back, I'll have water, but I'll also shoot the Advil so that I can drink the coffee and not feel guilty.
So you're doing the right thing.
Through. Yeah.
You're doing the life. You live in the life of an entertainer right there. You need that coffee. You need that go juice.
Keep
Best
the
part of
uppers
waking up.
coming. Give me all those uppers.
All the uppers, no downers.
Renee, you know all about the life of an entertainer. As I said, you are a published cookbook author right now. Messy in the Kitchen, available everywhere. We're going to talk about it today. But if somebody's joining the Kind of Funny podcast and doesn't know you, how do you describe yourself?
Oh God, that's it. Anytime someone asks you that, like, what do you say? I don't know. I am a woman of many hats and skills.
Mhm.
I would say that I'm synonymous with the world of professional wrestling.
Sure.
Having worked in WWE for almost the past decade, we'll call it 8 years.
Which is outrageous. It's one of those where I knew you'd been there like forever in quotes, but it was when I looked at when you're coming on, I went and read Wikipedia again. I was like, oh my God, was it really that long?
I know it's so crazy how quick the time goes when you're there and you don't even realize it because you're always on to the next. And it's like you're either prepping for SummerSlam and then getting ready for WrestleMania, or you've got Survivor Series. There's always like another big quarterly chunk to look forward to every year. So like, yeah, years go by so fast. So yeah, I mean, I'm from the world of wrestling. I have been a television host for, over a decade now from outside WWE. I did some sports broadcasting up in Canada, amongst many other things. And yeah, now I just wrote a book and I'm about to become a mom. I'm just doing it all.
No big
Juggling
deal.
it all.
In vogue right now. The whole
Yeah.
mom thing.
It is the quarantine move to get knocked up and just see what happens.
It's smart.
A
That's
lot of
Yeah.
that going on. A lot of that
What
going
better
on.
time to do it? I'm just stuck at home. You might as well, like, first of all, what a way to kill some time. Second of all, yeah, you're pregnant. You got time to just like kick your feet up for a little bit and hang out.
Are you worried at all about like when you pop this kid out? It's pretty much where the world's kind of going back to normal. Like, is there a part of you that's like, oh man, it would have been cool to have the year off with the kid?
Well, I'm in a
And
good
off, I mean,
spot right now because I work from home. So I do my podcast Oral Session. So I'm doing that from home.
I'm sorry,
giving
what's that? What's
It's a
that podcast
great-
and where can I get it? And when does it post?
It is called Oral Sessions. I've partnered up with the Volume Network, part of iHeartRadio. You guys can listen to it anywhere you get podcasts. We drop new episodes on Tuesdays and Thursdays. It's great. All the great conversations. I've got some cool guests on there. And we shoot the breeze as pals do. So I get to do that from home. So the fact that I'm doing that from home right now and I'm going to have a brand new fresh baby, it'll be nice to kind of juggle all things, though also a little bit scary because I'm so used to being on the road
Sure.
as much as I have. I've had the past past 8 months or whatever of being home. So I've kind of recalibrated to this schedule.
Yeah, I was going to say, is it scary because you think I have to go back out on the road, or is it scary because you think I maybe don't want to go back out on the road? Because we've all been so spoiled now.
We've been so spoiled. I'm kind of stuck, in the middle on that one. Like, I like being able to work from home. I like being able to live in the podcast world, but I do miss doing legitimate television.
Mhm.
So I think by the time I have the baby and figure life out to that point, I'll be looking to like find something, fall time,
Yeah,
ideally.
get back to it. Yeah.
Yeah, get
think-
back to that grind. I miss it.
That's kind of how I think we all feel, right? Where we all just kind of hunker down. We're here. You make the best of it. You find the pros for working here. But then the second you step out of your house, like, I mean, even today, joking around, but like going over and hang out with Tim, I was like, all right, I miss this. I miss human contact.
Yeah.
I miss
so
being around
silly.
people. You forget that we need that, like, as human beings, as creatures, we need that like personal connection,
Totally.
which is important.
Yeah, it's like having like that personal connection, and even just like, on even like a dumb level, it's like I miss getting like ready. I want to like put on makeup and put on an outfit that's not sweatpants.
I've been
Sure.
wearing the same like 2 pairs of sweatpants, or 3 pairs actually. One became jammy sweatpants now, so we don't count those. Although occasionally
Okay.
those do get worn to the local Starbucks, and I think they notice. There's some holes
No.
happening, Greg. Yeah.
There's nothing but respect at this point. Sweatpants have graduated to you can wear them outside. No one's gonna judge.
Yeah,
you.
no
but
one
Tim,
cares.
when they're like faded, they're like black faded sweatpants. They're almost a
see through
brown
'em.
now, and they're very thin. They're very thin.
The
Okay, well,
thinness
say
is
that.
scary, especially for a dude. I get nervous for dudes in thin sweatpants.
It's
Yeah.
I feel like
You
there
get
could be
nervous
some
for
easy,
them.
Like, I do. I'm like, there could be like some junk slippage or like, I don't know. There's a lot of things to worry about as a man in sweatpants, it seems.
See,
to me.
that's the thing. I mean, obviously, COVID times have been freeing for everyone in terms of what they can wear at home. But, we just moved and we had a roommate when we were living in our place before this. And when I got super excited because I ordered my first pairs of joggers and I felt like I was doing something cool where I was getting joggers, and I got them from Filthy Casual, our friends or whatever. And I got the black and white ones. And I brought at the old place, I brought them out. And my wife was like, that's great. But white pants, you can always see the outline of the dick. And I was
Yeah.
like, oh, really? She's
but that's
like,
what you
yeah. I'm
want,
like,
Greg.
So I can't really wear these around the house then with our roommate Lucy. She's like, no. I was like, God.
I feel like your eyes just like they go down.
To it.
You're exactly. It's like you're drawn into to see what's happening down there.
But we moved last month and we're all alone now. So I've been wearing these white sweatpants left and right. You know, because the wife, she's seen the dick. She's pregnant. She knows what happens.
She's seen it. Knows. It's not
old news to her. She doesn't care. She's like, oh my God.
Yeah,
an old couch.
Renee, I want to talk about this cookbook and how it came to be, but first I want to tell everybody, of course, that this is the Kind of Funny podcast. Each and every week, twice a week, we come to you to bullshit about whatever it is we want to bullshit about. If you want to be a part of that bullshit, you can go to patreon.com/kindoffunny, where of course you can ask questions. You can watch the show as we record it, just like Joshy G is, Lexi G is, and Matt Grover are. Of course, you can get the show ad-free. I know I did that on purpose. I saw all the G's lined up. I usually go down, but I went up instead. You can, of course, get the show ad-free on patreon.com/kindoffunny, and you can get it with the exclusive post show we do twice a week, each and every week. However, if you have no bucks to toss our way, it's no big deal. You can get each and every episode of the Kind of Funny podcast for free over on youtube.com/kindoffunny, roosterteeth.com, and on podcast services around the globe each and every week. Housekeeping for you, we are playing Knockout City with the developers of Knockout City on Friday. The reason we're doing this, of course, is that they have challenged us to a game. If we win, we get the Kind of Funny logo in the game. If we lose, we have to give money to charity, and I hate giving money to charity, Tim. You know how I feel about charity. So you can come watch Friday at noon, twitch.tv/kindoffunnygames. Thank you to our Patreon producers, Joshua Schroeder, Delaney Twinning, Julian, the gluten-free gamer, and Steve Powers. Tim, why do you like the name Steve Powers?
Steve Powers? I mean, it's a powerful name. I mean, come on.
I was going to say, it's pretty self-explanatory. I wanted to make sure you could hit it. Exactly. Thank you, Renee. Thank you, Steve. You're having a great name. Thank you, everybody, for covering while I pulled out the ad. Our sponsor is Babbel, but we'll talk about that later. For now, back to Renee's book, Messy in the Kitchen. Here's where I want to start.
That was really smooth, I would say. You know, from broadcaster to broadcaster, I appreciate everything you just threw out there.
Thank you. You know, we had that moment when I went down. It was on WWE Backstage where we hit it off, and we knew we were right there together.
Simpatico.
Exactly. So, talk to me about the cookbook. How long have you been working on Messy in the Kitchen?
So, I had the idea that I wanted to do a cookbook probably for a while, like at least 2 years. Of just sort of having this like seedling idea of like, man, I want to make one of these just because I love cookbooks. I love buying cookbooks. I like reading them. I like flipping through all the pictures. I just love everything about cookbooks. So I was like, I want to have one of those. I also love to cook. So it just sort of made perfect sense. But then, the difficult part was trying to get other people on board to be like, let me write a cookbook.
Yeah, that's difficult, right? There's a lot of cookbooks out there. So like, what is your pitch for making one, right? Like what makes yours different?
Exactly. And, you're trying to like pitch to all these different, different like publishers. I almost just said book labels. Wow. Pregnancy brain. You're trying to like put all these pitches out and then being like, wait, you're like from wrestling, but these aren't healthy wrestling recipes. They're not like to like keep you in shape or anything. I'm like, no, I don't know. I'm just like a person. People follow me online. If that helps, maybe that'll help, which usually it kind of helps.
It definitely does.
It does help.
I like that money.
And then I think it was really relaying to everyone just like what a passion project it was for me and like the vision that I had for this book of it just being this like fun, kind of sassy, get in the kitchen, roll up your sleeves, pour yourself a stiff cocktail. I have the music side of it as well, where you can scan the QR codes. It'll take you over to Spotify. I've got a bunch of. It is cool. It's a really,
when I was paging through it, that was the one that I was like, oh my God. Like, first off, what I love about it, and like you're already talking about it, the book is infused with your personality, right? Yeah. Like, it's not written from I'm educating you about food. This is what's happening. It's very much you're shooting the shit with you in the kitchen while you cook. Yes. And then, when I was paging through it and got to the end that you had playlists along with their Spotify QR codes, I was like, that's a brilliant idea. And they're like organized by like what kind of night it is. Is it a date night? Is it a sunny breakfast kind of thing? Yeah.
And that's what I really wanted was like, it is just so like my favorite thing is having people come over to my house. And I feel like the book coming out kind of at the perfect time while the world is starting to open back up.
Sure.
And we can kind of, safely have friends and family come over to the house and we're kind of recalibrating to this new world. It's like, let's set the stage. Let's set the music. Here's some recipe ideas. Here's some like tips along the way kind of ideas. My like semi-pro tips to kind of prod people along. But I just had such a fun time writing it. It was that project that I really wanted to start. And I started writing it while I was still in WWE. But it was so nice for me to be able to work with the publishers on the other side of things, where they really didn't edit me at all. They didn't put a filter on me. They just let me write the book that I wanted to write, and it was so cathartic for me to be able to do that and to be able to put out this product that I just feel so proud of, that I feel completely encompasses me as like a personality and a home chef. I'm using very dramatic air quotes.
If you're driving the car, there's the air
Yeah.
quotes happening right
Yeah.
now.
Did you do?
talk-
Are they custom playlists on Spotify, or did you just use the Spotify playlist and assign them to the foods
Oh my
that you
God, are
made?
you crazy? I could never let Spotify do it. Hell no.
I love it. Okay, good. I appreciate
Hell
that very
no.
much.
No, so I started doing the playlist. Like I was kind of thinking, I'm like, hey, what are like some genres I want? There's like a barbecue with friends kind of one, a brunch, a romantic date night situation, girls' night. Yeah, they're there. There's 6 of them. So I started putting together songs that I would want in some of those given scenarios, and then I would reach out to some friends of mine whose musical tastes I trusted, and had them kind of chip in just to add a little variety, a little spice of life.
Nicholas, you don't have to raise your hand. You're on the show.
Now, is Genuine's Pony in any of these playlists? Is that
It's
like
not, but maybe that I feel like that could go into like the girls' night playlist.
yeah?
It
Yeah.
it definitely applies to that. I mean, there's also just like I think just like cocktails situation of like just like a hanging out with friends that could also apply there, but it should make it in there.
Okay, we can maybe for the second one. Maybe
But
for
no,
the
but I
second
can
one.
I can adjust. The
That's a good
playlists
point.
are live. I can always just add other songs to it. So
Fantastic.
If
I
if
can
you
do
on
that.
this show go slip Genuine's Pony into the girls' night playlist, that
do
will be
any
the
of
most
these-
ridiculous thing that's happened in quite some time.
Do any drinks involve Diet Coke? Because if so, that's the one that needs the
Yeah,
the
there's
pony.
there's the cowboy cocktail. My
Oh
husband.
my
is a
God,
big
that's
fan.
perfect.
Yeah, he's a big fan of a double whiskey splash of Coke, Diet Coke, whatever you need. There it is. See, Greg's on it.
I'm
Yeah.
here. I've looked through the book. I have my things
You
tagged.
gotta
I know what
know.
recipes I'm
Doggy-eared.
making. Don't worry about it.
He's ready to go. Yeah, and the thing is, it's funny doing the cocktail. So I'm not a big dessert person, or at least I wasn't prior to getting pregnant. Now all I want is like donuts and like cakes. But so I was like, oh, I'm gonna do cocktails instead. But generally, I'm a big just like I just want wine. John drinks a whiskey and Diet Coke, so I was like, oh, I gotta like get some other cocktails to add in there. But the blackberry sage smash one's very nice.
So this leads me to a question about a cookbook. How do you go about, you're talking, what you usually drink, what you'd usually make, then going and finding new things to put in it? Because like we here on youtube.com/kindafunny, we've done the show Cooking with Greggy, a couple seasons of it. But that is always very specifically like, here's a recipe I love from this Rachel Ray magazine, or here's this thing that I took from whatever and put my own little twist on. But I don't feel like I could ever fill a cookbook with like original ideas. Where does this start? Like, do you have the thing like the little recipe card holder at home? Like, where does this go?
So kind of, yeah, a little bit. It is overwhelming. So when I first started with the book, I had about 10 to 15 recipes already done that I had been kind of working on just as I was like manifesting making this book come true. And then once I signed on with Postal Press, and they're like, cool, well, you can do a book, but you need 60 to 70 recipes. And I was like, oh shit, I
That's a
do?
lot.
I
I
come up
got
with
5.
that?
What can I do with 5? That's what I would say.
Exactly. Like, yeah. I mean, how many peanut butter sandwiches can I put in here? So yeah, it was for me, it was kind of just these like brainchild ideas of like, what are some things that I really like that I could put a different spin on? So French onion soup is one of my favorite things. But I was like, I don't want to just do a French onion soup. What can we do from that? And then looking at all the ingredients, I was like, let's make a grilled cheese out of that, a French onion soup grilled cheese. I also love a pierogi, but I also love a shepherd's pie. Let's mash those guys together. To even just trying to come up with like a cinnamon roll recipe and kind of tinkering with that. And baking is a whole other can of worms where it's like full science.
Yep.
Which always kind of stresses me out. So I worked on the cinnamon buns the longest. And I felt like adding a little bit of cardamom in there add a little different
changer.
spice in there as well. Yeah, it's just a little earthiness to it. What other ones? Oh, and the peanut butter and jelly chicken. That was another one.
Wait,
John
what?
came up with that idea. Yeah, peanut butter and jelly chicken. It's amazing.
That sounds amazing, actually.
Yeah, you just like marinate the chicken sort of in like a Thai coconut peanut butter sauce,
Yeah.
and then
Got
do a
it,
berry
okay.
reduction with it, and it is so good. So it's just coming up with things that I really liked and trying to put a spin on it and finding the best ways to do that. But yeah, I mean, it is hard when you're not actually a chef and you're like, please let these measurements be right. I hope that all these instructions are right. And you've really got to you have to write every little thing down. You can't skip over anything. Otherwise, the recipe might not work. So that was always my fear with the book coming out, that I'm like, oh, hopefully everything works out.
It's like that nightmare when you give your friend a recipe, but you leave one specific thing out by accident, and that ruins the recipe for them.
Yeah.
One time my mom made a cheesecake without sugar. That was fun.
No, that's bad.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah.
Bad combo. My mom, when I was like working on the book, she actually found a bunch of my nanny's recipe cards. As you mentioned, recipe cards, like a ton of them. So I would take some of my grandmother's recipes. There's like the Scotch egg. I put a little spin on that. And the Hawaiian fried rice was another one that I took from her, but hers wasn't a fried rice. I just felt like it needed to be fried because otherwise it comes out pretty goopy. So the fried rice version of it is much better. And I added Spam. She didn't have Spam in hers. Yeah. We all need a little more Spam in our lives. We shouldn't fear Spam. Spam's good.
I agree.
Especially with Hawaiian stuff, definitely.
Yes, yeah.
Now, you talk about, this book being filled with tips for it. And my favorite thing, I pull out a passage here. My 2 biggest tips are these: clean as you go and keep everyone's glass full. Yes. Those are 2 dynamite things, because what drives me crazy is when I cook, and then at the end you serve the meal, but you turn around and there's just this ocean of dishes.
Devastating.
Yeah.
Yeah, that can be really, really difficult. And that's actually, speaking of Rachel Ray, that was something I kind of got from watching her show along the way. She would take a giant bowl, like a mixing bowl, and just keep that on the counter. And that's where she would put all the junk that she was done cooking with, like, cores of things, the peels of things, whatever, to just like toss it all in there and then toss it in the garbage as you're going, rather than running back and forth and back and forth. But yeah, there's nothing worse than being at the end of your meal, realizing the kitchen's a disaster, or you need a different pan again, you've run out of dishes. All of those things can pile up so quickly and leave you in a bit of a hairy-carry situation.
For sure. Now, here's where I need a new tip from you. Right now, one of the Kind of Funny best friends needs your help, all right? Demetrius Newell is watching live. He's been vibing. He's been enjoying. He's talking about how he loves water. He doesn't bake. But more importantly for anything, this is what I think he puts in here, which is something I think you really must have up your sleeve. He goes, yeah, my improvising for cooking sucks. How do you get to that point? You're talking about looking at a recipe and understanding, okay, I want to put a spin on it. What could I do to it? I think for me, that was the hardest thing as I started cooking more, was I was I'm going to follow this recipe point by point, And then once I kind of understood bits and pieces, I was able to mix and be a bit more freeform with it. Like, how do you encourage people, especially people who are buying your book and, haven't cooked that much, to understand what improvising can be?
That's a good question. Because that was something that I really tried to put in with some of the recipes of like, hey, here's what I'm doing. Here's something you can follow. But should you have other ingredients on hand that could work? Like I have my pasta primavera. I have a bunch of different vegetables in there that I use. Do you have to stick to all of those? No. If you've got like a bunch of, you've got more mushrooms, or you've got more spinach, or you have a bunch of zucchini, like you can kind of make that whatever you want. Obviously, the flavors are going to adjust depending on what those vegetables are. But I don't think that there's ever going to be like a bad vegetable combination inside of a pasta primavera. You can kind of do what you want with that. And also, like, guys, Google is your friend. Use Google if you need to find like a substitute for something. So this didn't work out, nor did I do it. My mom did this the other day. My mom's at my house and she's in like hunker down mode, getting me ready for the baby to be here. And she's like, what do you want? And I was like, I've got a bunch of frozen bananas. Let's have some banana bread. So I'm like outside. I leave her to her own devices and I walk in the house. She's like, okay, I tried something new with the banana bread and I'm not sure if it's going to work. And I was like, okay, well, what did you do? She's like, well, the recipe I had said to use mayonnaise. And I was like, all right, I've heard of that. I don't know if I'm on board with it, but I've heard about it. She goes, but you were out of mayo. So I substituted in ranch dressing.
Oh, yeah, that's good. That's going to be good.
No,
you're going down. That's
banana bread.
That's going to be good.
But what killed me about that is she swapped in the ranch dressing. And I was like, Mom, but there's plain yogurt in the fridge. Mm-hmm. There's plain sour cream. You could have used one of those. You did not need to go that savory. It was not actually as bad as one would assume putting ranch dressing in a banana bread was, but that was some left field shit right there.
Yeah, sure. I see where she's at, right?
Yeah, bread, I get
mayonnaise, ranch. If I had a turkey sandwich and I didn't have mayonnaise to put on top of it, the next best thing, Tim, is ranch. Right?
That makes sense for a sandwich. Absolutely. Yeah. Banana bread usually has like a sweetness you expect from it, like not so much that.
Maybe that's your banana bread, but I like to put a couple slices of turkey between my banana bread.
Sometimes they work out. Most of it, you just got to try, and that's sort of the thing with the book too. Is it's just like just try things. I mean, you don't want to feel like you're just wasting your time. But like, yeah, try things and experiment a little bit. And let's not take cooking so seriously. I feel like cooking can be so like snobby and daunting sometimes where it's like, no, everyone can cook. It's fine.
Anyone can cook.
Anyone can cook. We're all hungry.
We just watched Ratatouille, so we learned that. That's the one takeaway from that
They
movie.
say that line
can cook.
3,004 times. Anyone can cook.
Actually, yeah.
Oh, sweet Ratatouille.
Not
Like, keep any rat out of my kitchen. Hell, oh yeah. No.
Yeah, no. My wife's very similar to you, where like she can cook circles around me, and she's been doing it for so long that it's all intrinsic. And she like I remember when we moved in, and she blew my mind at some point when I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna go to the store and get milk," and she's like, "Why? There's yogurt." Like and I'm like, "What? Like how? What do you mean?" And like the idea of being able to sub these different things in, creme fraiche or whatever, to go in and fill the holes that you didn't know you needed.
Yeah, there's so many times that I'll be like, cooking something and I'm like, oh, what's like a good substitute for, say you don't have an onion, but you have a shallot, or, you can, there's so many different ways that you can substitute stuff, and just looking online can be your friend. The internet has all of the answers. You can always just you can just lean on the internet, lean on your friends on the internet.
Now, of course, you are a proud Canadian.
Oh, hell yeah.
You talk about this all the time. I see it on Twitter. I see it on your Instagram and stuff like that.
I feel like all Canadians are like that. Is your wife like that?
Oh, yeah, of course. Super. Well, she's Quebec, so she's very proud to be Quebec.
Oh, yeah. And that's like a whole other situation.
Whole other thing. Yeah. But I was not surprised but I know that your reputation as a Canadian was online, that you put poutine in the book. And not only poutine, I love that you put in clam chowder poutine, and then the title being regular ass poutine. Where you're like, listen, if clam chowder poutine's scary, well, this is what we got. Was there concern of putting that in there and putting that out into the public? Because poutine is a very serious thing for your country.
It is very serious, but that's why I was like, you know what? I feel like we can deviate off of this. And, being drunk in the city of Toronto at like 2 a.m, and you go to a poutinery, there's tons of options of different kinds of poutines to have. You can add the Montreal smoked meat. You can do like a nacho style. There are tons of different variations. My favorite, of course, will always just be classic poutine, brown gravy, cheese curds, hot fries. So I was driving through Prince Edward Island with my mom one time, and there was a seafood poutine. I think this was more of like a lobster bisque that was over it. But that's sort of where that idea came from, that I was like, oh man, that would be great. And it just doubles as like another recipe as well. It's like, well, here's the clam chowder. Now here's a clam chowder poutine. And should that not be your deal? Here's just a regular ass poutine. So I like to give people the option. It's like a choose your own ending. Let's make the fries and let's figure it out from there.
I respect that. It's like a Canadian clam chowder bowl.
Yeah. You gotta do the Canadian side proud. So there's no way I could have a book without the poutine. And then I also have you guys ever had all dressed chips from Ruffles?
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, Greg has. They're delicious.
I married into Canada. I've married, and that was the thing. That first Canada trip was a crash course in what gas station foods we could get that you never. The fact they're just selling poutine next to the counter, cheese curds next to the gas station attendant unrefrigerated. It's like, what is this?
Yeah, what's happening here?
Paint me a picture about these all dressed chips.
So all dressed chips are kind of like, they kind of strike the balance between the savory and not, I guess, like almost in like a vinegary kind of way, but veering more towards just like the savory. It's like if like barbecue, salt and vinegar, and like, I don't know, a little je ne sais quoi are added in there.
For sure.
They're exceptional chips. They're so good, but I do all dressed chops. So I batter my pork chops in a smashed out all dressed chip. There they are. Yes.
Kevin's on it with the B-roll.
There they are. You can order them on Amazon. They are in, like, I have them. They sell them in the grocery store here in Las Vegas, which is great. So I can easily get them. But of course, with the chops, if you don't have all dressed, just grab another flavor, whatever floats your boat. Maybe do a sour cream and onion. I bet you that's good. Probably real good.
How would you feel about a hot Cheetos pork chop?
Oh my God, of course. I'm sure someone must have done that. Everyone puts hot Cheetos on everything.
Sure.
And it has never enhanced it. I stand by it. I am on the quest to find a meal made better by hot Cheetos. I love hot Cheetos with all my heart. But the moment you change the consistency of what makes the hot Cheeto a hot Cheeto, it doesn't taste like a hot Cheeto anymore.
Yeah,
no, you lose the heat.
It's so sad.
I'm with
you. Lose
you.
the heat, you lose the crunch. It's like, come on, guys.
Tim,
what are we doing here anymore?
Mm-hmm.
Child's play.
I recently had elote, Mexican corn, with hot Cheeto dust on it. 10 out of 10. Enhanced the hell out of it.
Wow.
Need to try it.
So that was, but because it was already crushed up, you're not adding a liquid to it.
Yeah, you're not cooking it, right? It was just like a topper at the end.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I mean but it made the experience better, and it came with that hot Cheetos taste. Oh my god, I'm so
Sure.
I feel like when you see like the mac and cheese with hot Cheetos, like I don't think you need it to be in it, but if you were making a full mac and cheese and use that as the crumb topping, now we're
100%,
talking.
100%.
That's the way to go.
Okay. We're all on the same page about that. I like that.
From my semi-professional experience.
Oh, at this point, you're professional, right? Once
I
you have a
mean,
cookbook out, who's
what
going to
can I
stop you, man?
say,
Anyone
right?
can cook.
I'm a published author, goddammit.
So now,
Is there
recently-
imposter syndrome that comes with that though, where you start
Oh
talking
my
about cooking,
God.
like I didn't go to culinary school, by the way, and yada yada.
I have imposter syndrome with every single thing I do in life. I have imposter syndrome as a broadcaster. I have imposter syndrome as a performer of any capacity. I have imposter syndrome with cooking. Yeah, I think I'm full of shit. So I don't know. I'm just riding it out at this point. I'm just hoping.
Well, you're doing
for the
pretty well
best.
with it. I don't think you have to worry about that part. You're doing
Thank
fine with
you. Thanks. I'm trying very hard.
You talked about the idea for the cookbook and getting a little bit of work started on it while you were still with WWE. When you left, were you concerned about that? Did it change stuff? Did you have to go back and rewrite stuff, or had you
Yeah.
already been planning that this is going to be your independent thing?
Well, I knew this was going to be my independent thing, but so when I was at WWE, I had to get it approved. We have to get any outside project approved. So I had to make sure that WWE was okay with me putting a cookbook out. So the cookbook was initially supposed to be coming out under Renee Young, which was fine. But then as I was leaving, I was like, wait, no. And I get to like release a book as Renee Paquette. And there is a bit of that, like that stress of like, oh, are people going to, people get it. It's not that confusing, but it's just like switching that branding can just be a little bit scary as something's ready to go. Like, yeah, break that kayfabe, brother. But then the other thing that I did have to switch. So this is some news, but when I was writing the book, I could not mention my husband by name. I just had to say my husband. I could not say John. I couldn't say John Moxley. I could not refer to him. Like I couldn't use any wrestlers outside of WWE, which of course means my husband. So I had to change his name throughout the whole thing to just say my husband, blah, blah, blah. But then as I was going back through, and I wouldn't have been able to have pictures of him in the book either. So I left WWE like just before we did the photo shoot, but I knew that I was leaving. So I took pictures with John so that he could be in the book as well. Cause it's weird to be like, oh, I'm cooking at home and here I am just this solo bachelorette. Like you can't just like, ignore the fact that like people know that we're married. So that was definitely like a bit of like a hindrance of like, oh my God, how am I going to do that? That sucks. It was definitely a hurdle I was willing to work around. But then as I was like, actually, I'm not going to work here anymore. And let's just make these little adjustments.
And I'm not trying to lead you or get into trouble with anybody, but was there concern when you were leaving that since you had already said the book was going to happen, that you would have to fight them for the book? Like, or am I off base about that?
No, I didn't have to fight them for the book or anything like that because it was still my like intellectual property. They had just like approved me doing it.
Okay.
But I was like nervous to like tell the publishers because they're like, oh, cool, this person from WWE, this global phenomenon that everybody loves. And I'm like, hey, by the way, I actually don't do that anymore. We still cool to put this out. And they were all really cool and supportive the whole time. So it was actually everything just really worked out for the better. I feel like the book is so much better being able to have those different changes in it than if I had to just like, turn a blind eye and pretend certain things didn't exist.
What I love, reading through it and looking at all the pictures and then the acknowledgments and the recipes themselves is like this acts as such a cool time capsule of your life right now.
Yeah.
Right, where you're about to become a mother, you've just left WWE. There's all these different things, so it is about you and your husband, and I think your acknowledgments at the end, you're like you talking about being pregnant and that you can't wait to make this kind of food for the baby and stuff like that. Like it's such a weird, like this is always going to be so definitive a point in your life.
Yeah, it's funny because when I was writing the dedication at the beginning, I just said to John and our baby. Because knowing that my due date's not until June 11th, but the book came out May 18th, I'm like, well, I'm not going to say her name yet. But then I just said her name on my podcast last week. So now cat's out of the bag. Her name's going to be Nora. So I could have put it in there, but But yeah, it is really cool to look back on that. And even just in terms of like, one of the recipes, there's like the lamb jam, the lamb hamburger and or lamb burger. And the reason I came up with that recipe was because during the pandemic, we just couldn't buy ground beef anywhere. So I was like, what else can I get? I've got to write a cookbook. So I bought ground lamb, and that's where that idea came from. So even just like addressing the fact of like writing a cookbook during a pandemic, yeah, it really like encapsulates everything over the past year.
Now, Renee, in the book, you put the songs in there. You say in the book that you're a music junkie. We have a question for the panel from patreon.com/kindafunny that comes from Grant Burton. And Grant Burton says, assemble a collection of three songs to create a playlist or album that best represents your life up until this point.
Oh, wow.
Everybody start thinking. 3 songs.
Okay.
Everybody, Tim, Nick, I'm looking at you. Nick, do you want to put Genuine Pony on right away?
Yeah, let's throw that on there. Let's just put that at number 1 and number 3. We'll sandwich that in. We'll make a little Oreo cookie out of that bad boy with maybe.
I gotta write these down.
I want to put Blue.
This is definitely, you need some work. You want Blue?
Blue by Eiffel 65. I feel like.
Of course.
Oh my God.
definitely.
Wow.
Yeah.
Why is that you? Why does that represent you?
Because I have blue house, blue little window, blue Corvette. Everything I see is blue.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like that. Okay.
Wish you had a blue Corvette. I
really
you
wish I had a blue
outside-
Corvette. I
You
really
don't
wish
say
I
blue
had
Prius.
But not like a dope ass. I want like a 1987 kind of
Busted.
falling apart.
But it's
needs
blue.
a new rag top, but it's super blue Corvette, like my uncle
Yeah.
Jim used to have, and he liked that car more than me. Not a big deal. We're not.
I'm struggling to come up with my third. So far I have She's Electric by Oasis. You and Me by Penny and the Quarters, which is an old song, but it's sweet and has
You can put it in there.
a very special little meaning to me. Gosh, what should my third be? This is stressful. Picking songs and like making a list is no joke. I take this task quite seriously.
I'm surprised. I mean, I knew you would take it seriously, so I'm surprised you were able to like knock out the first 2 so quickly.
Well, I knew I wanted something Oasis for sure.
Sure.
Girl in the Dirty Shirt's great too. That I'm always filthy. Gosh, one more. Let's do. Hold on. I'm almost there. Did you guys say all your 3?
Oh, I'm still struggling for a third one.
Okay. Good.
Wait, are
so
you
I'm
you
not-
why you put Genuine twice? Because you put Genuine twice.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, come on, it doesn't get any better than that.
Yeah. Pony, the version of Pony from the Magic Mike movie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
I think I'll go. I'm gonna go Snowbird by Anne Marie.
Okay.
Very Canadiana. Oh man, that's a tough one. I don't know that I stand. I don't live and die by that list, but
It's one of those any given
Off the
Sunday
top.
that could
Off the
change no
top of the
matter
dome.
what. Off the top of the
Yeah,
dome, you got
it's
She's
a
Electric, You and
rotator.
Me, and Snowbird. Okay.
yeah.
Nick has Genuine Pony, Genuine Pony. Tim has Blue from Eiffel 65.
Why have you not answered, Greg? You're being silent on this.
I like to just
He
give
likes to
people.
go
I
last.
like to give. No, I like to give
No,
people the
he likes to
floor.
go
We're having a good
Greg, 'cause he likes to-
conversation.
He
That's
likes to
fine.
go
The
last, and then he likes to have the
Ghostbusters
bell.
theme
Number 1 is
The
Ghostbusters by
song.
Ray Parker Jr. Number
Yeah.
1 is
Just mic
Ghostbusters.
drop.
Number
Yeah.
2 is Hours by Taylor Swift, and number 3, Life Changes by Thomas Rhett. Thomas Rhett.
Okay.
I don't know that one.
God.
One for me is definitely a deep cut of a Macklemore joint called Victory Lap. If you listen to this, it's some Tim Gettys ass shit. A faux show.
Okay. So you got Blue.
Tough. It's tough because I'm like, do I just do the songs that pop into my head that I love singing in my car?
Right.
Sure.
But I
Right.
will be. They're not great songs. Like, does It's Gonna Be Me need to be number 2 on my list? Because that might be the song that I have sung the most in the car.
Yeah.
It's not.
I mean,
it's not
a
the
good
best
pick.
song. It's no. I mean, you could pick literally anything from the Led Zeppelin catalog, and it would trump that song.
Fair.
Having said that, though, do I want to listen to Stairway right now, or is it going to be me, Tim? That's the question. I think I'm
I
going
feel
with
like you got to
NSYNC
go
on this one.
Juicy, Nick. Your new favorite song, Juicy.
Juicy.
Oh.
Yeah, like Notorious B.I.G. Juicy.
No,
Oh, I think you meant.
no,
I
not
think you
that
meant
one.
Jelly. Tim.
Sorry, Jelly.
is the name
Jelly.
of that song.
Jelly is this new song that Nick is addicted to.
Tim
And,
turned me on to this playlist on Spotify featuring all female artists.
Oh,
feeling myself.
Feeling
It
myself.
is
It's like Cardi
incredible.
B,
That's
Megan Thee
it.
Stallion, a lot of that stuff. And
Yeah.
a new song popped on called Jelly, which is explicit. There's some explicitness to it.
I love that.
And it's a slap to say the least. But one of my favorite things to do in the car ride is my wife, if she's in the car with me, I will bump that, and then I will just roll her window down. I'll roll that window down on that side. It's
Yeah,
fun.
you know,
We-
with that,
we've
my
been
last
looking
one,
Oh,
I'm
go
gonna
ahead.
choose a song from that playlist called
Oh.
"Best Friend" by Saweetie and Doja Cat.
Oh, that's a good
out
one.
right now, and I love
That's a
it
good
because
one.
it just reminds me and my best friend Kevin. You know what I mean? Just us hanging out, driving down the street,
Which
windows
one of you
down
gets
of
to be
the
Doja Cat?
convertible Corvette
Tim,
I
you
don't have.
nailed it.
It's
Best
blue.
Friend
like
by Queen. I'm all in.
There you
Oh,
go.
that's
Am I
Kevin's
one?
are all Queen.
I was gonna
love
say, Kevin, what are your 3 Queen songs?
Killer Queen.
Killer Queen.
Killer Queen.
Bohemian Rhapsody.
And
Best
Killer
Friend.
Queen.
Let's do it.
Bicycle race is strong for me.
Oh, it's a good one. That's a good one.
Want to ride my bicycle? I want to ride my bike. It's so good.
Ring.
So, Nick, are you putting Juicy in as your second one there?
No, I'm not gonna put Jelly in there as my second one. I'm gonna do Pony. I'll do It's Gonna Be Me, and we'll throw in just top of my head song I want to listen to right now, Panama, Van Halen. Let's go.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like I should add Dreams by Fleetwood Mac in there too for thinking like
Oh, that's a
songs we
great
play
song.
a lot or like you might want to like karaoke that one's up there for me.
Yeah, in
Pretty
that
much-
type of sense, like this definitely doesn't have anything to do with my life, but it's undeniably the song I've listened to the most in my life is Clint Eastwood by Gorillaz.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's a good
Wow.
one. Also, Darling Nikki by Prince. Shit, that
Oh,
one.
anything Prince though. I mean,
Come
come on.
on,
We're gonna
I
talk
know.
Prince.
But
Prince
if
could
I-
be
if I'm
number 1,
going
2, and
Prince,
3.
If I had to pick a Prince song, I would go Darling Nikki
Really?
Yep.
Okay.
confidently.
Over like Raspberry Beret or Beret or any of those. 1999.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
I love all those songs, of course, but I still go Darling Nikki. Also, very explicit. What a picture he paints.
Prince just was everything. He
Yeah.
was just everything.
Except
We'll never have another person like Prince on this
No.
planet.
No,
ever.
no. People will mimic and people will try to like walk in that shadow, but it's just there's no way.
It's not gonna happen.
No one's
Renee?
cool anymore. Yeah.
Our time with you is almost up, but before you go, I want to get one other question in about your history, your career. This comes from Brandon H. Brandon H. writes into patreon.com/kindoffunny and says, I've been a fan of Renee since she was on The Score. Rest in
Ooh.
peace. Can you please ask Renee about her time at The Score and her thoughts on the current Canadian sports networks being dominated by TSN and Sportsnet?
Yeah, I think looking back, I feel like I keep having this conversation lately because so many people that I worked with when I was at The Score have gone on to have these very cool careers. And it was a really cool moment in time of a bunch of really talented people working at a network. The Score, again, peace, love, thoughts to what used to be The Score, got bought up by Rogers and Sportsnet.
And
But
so to be
we-
clear, because I'm American, The Score was there's a sports channel. It was like an ESPN
Yeah.
or something. Okay.
So there's TSN, which is more like the ESPN, and then there's Sportsnet, which would be kind of like the Fox Sports.
Okay.
And then The Score, the reason I was drawn to want to go work there was not that I necessarily wanted to like be like a sports broadcaster. It's that they would do comedic style interviews. They let their personalities be personalities. So we were never like we just got to like run loose there. We could do whatever we wanted, come up with the shows we wanted, say the things we wanted. And it was the best training grounds on like national television to just like, yeah, to just really cut your teeth and figure out who you are as a broadcaster, how you want to sound, how you want to produce your own content. And I feel so lucky to have been able to come from a place like that and be given the platform that I was given to just have the confidence in my own abilities moving on from outside of there. Because now having worked so many different places, you realize how rare that is to actually have people that just encourage you to be you and do the content that you want to do on a national scale like that. So I love that. And again, there were so many people like Adnan Virk was just released by WWE, which I think was unfair to a degree. They did not give him the proper time to really hone that skill on Monday Night Raw, but also what a tough spot to put somebody in. Oh, you're not from wrestling. And guess what? You're going to start on the Monday Night Raw after WrestleMania. Like, good God, put the guy in a bad spot. But it's a hot seat to sit in. I mean, speaking from my own experience. But yeah, I loved working at The Score. I think I don't get to catch up on TSN and Sportsnet as often. I love Jay Onright. He's a sports broadcaster that has really carved his own path up there. So I love being able to watch what he does. But yeah, it's a cool time and it's been such a great launching pad for so many other people's careers.
That's fantastic. You're fantastic, Renee. The book is Messy in the Kitchen, available right now. Do you care where people buy it or just that they buy it?
I guess just buy it. I don't know how it works. Just buy a book. Because the more I'm reading of like, oh, getting on the different lists, I'm not going to make it onto any of these lists.
Not with that attitude.
Not with that
Change
attitude.
that, man. I'm
You're
telling
right.
you.
But yeah, it's like you got to buy them from all different sources and whatever. I just keep pushing Amazon because who doesn't
We'll
want
put
that
the
Prime
Amazon link in the
delivery,
description of this
right?
episode. Yeah.
Perfect.
It's just the easiest.
Yeah.
Renee, thank you so much for hanging out with us.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on, guys. I'm going to exit out of here properly this time.
Sounds good. We'll talk to you later.
Thanks.
While she
Bye.
exits out, ladies and gentlemen, I remind you that, of course, you can be part of the show at patreon.com/kindafunny. You can get the show over there with the post show. You can watch it live, just like Demetrius is, Lexi G is, Joshy G is, Mike LR. Of course, if you're having a good time on any of those things, go to patreon.com/kindafunny to be part of the show. And of course, on patreon.com/kindafunny, you can get each and every episode of the Kinda Funny podcast. The 2 we do each week, ad-free, but guess what, Jack? You're not listening to the ad-free version. You're watching one of the free versions, which is totally okay, but you missed the post show and don't get to write in. You have to listen to the ads. So here's Tim to tell you about the sponsors.
This episode is brought to you by Babbel. For most of us, learning a second language in high school or college wasn't exactly a high point in our academic careers. I know that's true for me for sure. Spanish did not go well at all. Now, thanks to Babbel, the #1 selling language learning app, there's an addictively fun and easy way to learn a new language. Whether you'll be traveling abroad, connecting in a deeper way with family, or you just have some free time, Babbel teaches bite-sized language lessons that you'll actually use in the real world. Greg Miller's been doing this, trying to learn a little bit more French to be able to communicate with Jen and the family. Hopefully, soon he'll be able to go see him again, and they'll be able to talk, and he'll be able to show off all the words that he learned using Babbel. Babbel's 15-minute lessons make it the perfect way to learn a new language on the go. Babbel designs their courses with practical, real-world conversations in mind, things that you'll actually get to use in everyday life. That's key. Plus, Babbel's speech recognition technology helps you to improve your pronunciation and accent. Start your new language learning journey today with Babbel. Right now, when you purchase a 3-month Babbel subscription, you'll get an additional 3 months for free. That's 6 months for the price of 3. Just go to babbel.com and use promo code MORNING. That's BABBEL.com, code MORNING. Babbel.com, code MORNING for an extra 3 months free. Language for life. That was me.
That was you.
Doing the sponsors.
You're back. I love these new ads we're doing.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? The Roger's doing, as always, what a great job. You know what
I've
I mean?
been doing a thing, Greg, on Games Daily, where when the ad plays, when it's me, I will notice as it's happening. Obviously, I'm wearing a different jacket before the ad, and then I'll run and change my jacket. Not a
No, you
single
won't,
person.
really?
Not a single person's called it out. Kind of let down. I've looked at all the comments. I'm like, somebody's gonna see this shit. No.
That's upsetting. Yeah, I
You
gave up
think-
on that a long time ago. I used to think about that of like, oh, well, if I wear this shirt, people will go back and be like, oh, when they see me on something we recorded that goes up later, that, oh, Greg, nobody gives a shit. They just want the content.
Well, what's funny is I
Everybody's
saw people commenting, and they're just like, oh, like Tim changed really quickly, like into the second outfit. But then those same people didn't appreciate when the quick change.
I don't want to compare
appreciate it
ourselves to
more.
Van Gogh, but like we're Van Gogh, where people don't care about what we're painting right now. But like in 20 years, people look back at these videos and they're like, they were gone before their time. I can't believe snakes bit them all in the eyes.
It's one of those things, Tim, where I would appreciate it more if you went, oh, I dropped my pencil, and then you went down, and then you came up and boom, totally
Here's
different
Kevin.
outfit. Completely, yeah, that would be amazing too. Side note, we might want to kick Renee from the Discord because I don't know if she knows. She's still popping up on my side.
I got it.
You got it, yeah. Just in case she opens up a laptop again, it might still be connected.
That'd be awesome.
Throwing that out there.
She's like just
like, what? I'm
open
still
enough
here.
to do anything else, and she's just back on the Kind of Funny podcast.
Well, Discord's just one of those random programs.
It's like
the only program
purgatory
we
you
use
can't
that
get
just
out of.
stays open no matter what. You're always connected to the call, which is super helpful when you get kicked, but not so helpful when you don't understand the program.
Of course,
That's
of
cool.
course.
Dude, it hasn't been the three of us in a crow's week.
By the
Duck's
crows
age?
fly.
Crow's
Duck's
week.
age.
Crow's week's 5 weeks.
Ducks weeks 4.5 weeks.
Don't Google it,
He's
you
doing a thing
idiot.
where he
It's
says it and
definitely
he licks
not.
his lips, and I can't tell if he's true. Hold on. Crows week.
Renee said the term
It's not real.
like poutinary or whatever it was, and
Poutineery.
Poutinary,
Couldn't-
and
yeah,
Tim
I couldn't-
giggled. I saw him smile. I was gonna
Canadians are
call him
so
out, but you
unique,
guys-
just-
you know?
For
I
real.
saw
I just
you.
love when I hear things that I'm just like, didn't know that
Uh-huh.
was a thing. Like, I know they
Yeah.
love poutine. Of course they have it. I
There's
mean, that's like a
poutineery,
taqueria.
yeah.
A lot of places don't have taquerias. But to me, I'm like, that's just a fucking normal thing. A lot of places don't have a taco truck. Can you imagine hearing taco truck if you didn't know what that was?
That's
You'd be
awesome.
like, that
You'd
sounds
be very
made
excited.
up.
You'd be very excited though, right? Like that's what kind of an adventure do we get to go on in the taco truck, and what kind of yummy things are going to be there along the way.
Yeah,
I digress. That was cool, man. She's cool.
You're great.
it is cool.
It was cool. I don't see. My thing is, I have like zero context for anyone that's in like the professional wrestling world. So like, hearing her tell all those stories and being with WWE for like 10 years, it must be ridiculous. That must have just been a crazy adventure for her.
Always weird because like I have so many questions about professional wrestling, but I feel like oftentimes the questions I have are kind of like breaking the fourth wall and like business elemented or oriented and shit. So it always gets weird when I'm like, I don't want to like push too hard, or like, especially given the situation everyone's in right now of, you know, there's WWE and AEW and the crossovers and all the, you know, there's just a lot. But it's like I'm so interested in what does a rehearsal look like for a commentator? You know, like how prepped are they for these matches and stuff? And I'm sure we'll get her back. And I didn't want to distract from the cookbook stuff, but I'm just so interested in that. And then the other side of it is she was on a reality show on Total Divas, and like, I'm just so interested in the production of those shows. Sure. And it's like, granted, she's not the right person to talk to about that. Like, if we ever had like a, you know, more regular, my whole job is reality TV. I'm just so interested in those like interview processes of like, are you actually watching back on the footage, or is someone just asking you questions? Does it differ per show? So many things.
Oh, you mean when they go like when they're narrating what's happening right now, but it was clearly filmed like 20 days later?
Exactly.
I always think that's so fascinating. That's like a skill you have to develop. You're like, I'm so mad right now, I can't even. What happened to Greg? Did Greg leave?
He broke.
It was. You guys all froze except the stream. Like I could see the stream, but I couldn't hear anybody.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm fascinated by that.
I'm so interested in it because like it's weird. Like they never say I and they and she, and it's like they kind of just are in the moment where it's like it feels like they're actually there, and there's no way they're like actually looking at the footage, reacting to it, because even if they did that, they'd mess up all of the way they're talking about it with the tenses and all that.
What are you talking about?
Crazy
I'm sorry,
stuff.
since I dropped
when they do it,
reality
like,
TV.
You know,
so when they do the confessional interviews after the fact?
Yeah.
Well, that's because they're prepped afterwards. It's like how we did like the gauntlet or whatever. Like when I did the gauntlet and then they came like what, weeks later, months later to film me on the others of like I'm thinking of Hardcore Monopoly, whatever. Sorry. Where we did Hardcore Monopoly and you play, and then weeks later they came out and they're like, all right, cool. So in the second game, Michael said that, and I'm like, all right, yeah, okay, cool. All right, I can go from there. And I then go like, then Michael's doing this to me and I hate him.
So I get that, but what I don't understand is how on a show like Gauntlet, cool, that was like, you know, you did 6 events and that was kind of it. But like for a show that, let's say, a season spans the course of like 5 or 6 months of these groups of people's lives, like how do you answer those questions without what happened after that framing your responses?
We're
dealing with this group of people that like had 6 different fights. They've made up and, you know, fought again about something different 10 different times. And it's like, you're now talking about step 1, and they speak authoritatively as if they're in that moment. And it's just so impressive to me. And like, I just don't understand it.
What's funny is I had a friend of mine that used to, his wife worked on, I want to say Real World or something like that. And one of the basically rooms in the house was an editing suite. And so they were constantly editing and constantly getting footage. So I don't know if they did those on the fly, but I think that because they were trying to do so many episodes, and some of these reality shows are so many episodes that you have to be like, they're like actually making the episodes and putting them out like, you know, as they're going. So maybe they're doing it like maybe a day later, so you're not quite that far away. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's crazy. It's definitely not a life that I would want to lead though. Having shot like some small stuff like that, that is a lot of work to shoot like reality style stuff like that.
When you say shoot, meaning on the production side, or
I would not want to be
talent side.
I would definitely be on the talent side, because I would be the guy that like sits in the pool the whole time. But I would not want to direct that, and I would not want to be a camera op for that, because I feel like that all of that shit would be so grueling, and you just have to generate so much footage. You have to be shooting constantly. They have to be. Literally, they have like a 24-hour edit room in my friend's show, because she was like, there's so much footage coming in that you have to keep ahead of it. Otherwise, you lose stuff.
You'd be buried. Yeah, you'd be buried, right? You have to be making the storyline kind of stuff as you go.
Yeah.
As the producer / editor. Yeah.
What show would you all be on, though? Sam, I know it's Bachelor, right? But would you want to be
at this point, it's not, man. Bachelor's in a weird place right now.
Oh, right.
All reality shows as a whole is in a weird place weird place because they're dealing with real people, and just like the internet, these real people have pasts, and once you start looking into that past, all of a sudden everyone's racist. So yeah, it's just kind of it's a rough go at it for sure. Don't be racist, people. That's kind of the moral of that story.
So why is Bachelor? What's happening in Bachelor?
It's such a long thing, but I mean, like last season got really, really bad with Bachelor in terms of racism and bullying and things like that. Where it was the first black lead on The Bachelor. We've had black-led bachelorettes before, but first male lead, and just the way the whole season went felt very like. They added elements that they had never done for white people before, including bringing in the lead's father, who has a very strained relationship with him. And
for the record, I thought you were about to say dead father. I was like, whoa, they brought in this dead guy.
No,
That's
not
ratings
that.
right there.
But
That would
it's
be some ratings right there.
They bring in of the families a lot for these type of stuff, but this was weird because they brought him in for this interview to kind of like mend the relationship, which is not the point of the show. Sure. And it kind of just painted this narrative of like, oh, black fathers leave families, right? And it's like that sucks. That that is totally not fair. That's not an accurate depiction at all, and for ABC to be promoting it that way for the first black bachelorette or bachelor, it's like a lot of elements like that, and the group of women were just like super cliquey to the point that it stopped being drama gossip content and it turned into like, holy shit, like y'all are really picking on these certain girls, and like this is causing a lot of it. Like people are gonna have to go to therapy because of their experience on this show. So yeah, it was really bad. And then one of the girls ended up being like pictures from her when she was in college going to parties at I'm blanking on the word right now, but in the South, antebellum parties. Yeah. In these houses, and like people are in blackface and all this stuff.
I guess.
And she was in college 3 years ago. This was 2018.
Oh, okay. What's the name?
Like a South.
I'm Googling. Don't worry. I don't know an antebellum party. I was looking.
Gotcha. Yeah. And then, so that came out, and then she ended up, quote unquote, winning. Like she was the one that he picked. And that obviously is very problematic because when they're shooting the show, they don't have access to their phones. They don't know any of this stuff. Right. So social media has been blowing up halfway through the season with all this shit. And we're all like, oh, this is a problem. But like the producers aren't telling the lead. So here he is falling in love with this girl, and she has this past, and it turns into this whole fucking thing. And then turns out like so many of these people have went to these parties, and then the host Chris Harrison of The Bachelor got involved and was on an interview with Rachel Lindsay, Greg, who was the first black bachelorette that we've ever had.
FCF, while he's co-owner, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And she was, exactly. And she was calling him out because he's an executive producer on the show and host of the show and talking about all this stuff. And he did a horrible job talking about it and kind of downplayed it as, oh, it was a different time. Which is like not a good thing to say, period, let alone for 3 years ago. Anyways, it's in a really, really bad spot.
3 years ago was a different time, Ridiculous. That sucks. So is the show like tanking because of it, or there's still like
well, I mean the Corona's kind of messed up the show. All reality shows up, obviously. Yeah. But yeah, no, it's there's two more they're doing 2 bachelorette seasons. Instead of the normal cycle to kind of add more diversity, add more women, all that stuff. And one of them starting next week, actually, with one of the more standout women that was very, 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 I really, really enjoy her. And I think that she was the best showing on the season last year, where she did a good job of kind of like being the voice of reason against the bullies. She really used her voice and platform to stand up against all that shit. And the host is taken off the show. Chris Harrison is on hiatus for now. He's not coming back for the foreseeable future.
Now, I mean, if you're gonna say 3 years ago is a different time,
he like owns the show to an extent.
Oh, I didn't know that.
He's like executive producer, right?
My apologies. Okay,
yeah. I mean, he's Chris Harrison's like, I mean, he's legendary host. Like he has a lot of power at ABC. So I don't know how that's all going to go. He might just lay low for a while and come back. There's a lot of things. It's a crazy world, right? Like, we're just talking about reality TV, but it's like all these podcasts we do, that a week doesn't go by that there's not some drama popping off of somebody talking about shit that someone shouldn't have said or all this shit, because we're just people, all of us, podcast actors, reality show, any of this shit, or just normal ass motherfuckers listening. It's everyone that are just people. We all do things, make actions, say words, and those can all get us in trouble. We have to be held accountable for them all, and that's just kind of where
I'll tell you, this is the thing. I mean, I worry about that, right? I was watching. I just went back and rewatched Endgame, right? And I'm like, man, I don't know how you would even start to plan a like movie series with like tens of or 20 or 30 of Hollywood's most popular actors without having that little voice in the back of your head, like, did we do as much research as we possibly could, right? Is there anything that we missed that's going to derail the grand plans for like phase 4 or 5 or whatever phase we're on, Tim Gettys kind of fun.
Just a quick thing, like with that, to the point about the Marvel stuff, is last week Kevin Feige had an interview, and people were talking to him about like if he regrets anything about the MCU so far and
the Tilda Swinton stuff.
Yeah, and he was talking about Tilda Swinton in Doctor Strange, and he was like, it was a bad call, and he was like, we were trying to do something clever, and we were trying to handle this the right way to get away from racist stereotypes, and in doing that, we overcorrected. And that was an absolutely bad call. And what we should have done is handled it from a culturally correct situation, but just made it not racially insensitive, like actually making sure that it's done correctly. So, yeah.
It's interesting you say all this because obviously we've seen it before, but like I was watching Army of the Dead on Friday, the new Zack Snyder zombie movie. I enjoy it. I mean, it's a zombie movie, right? I think Batista's great in it. Like, I think there's a whole bunch of stuff in it. There's a lot of stuff to really like about it, and then there's a bunch of weird stuff, and like the whole
like the 35-minute intro with montage music over it, where they
I didn't hate
a bunch
that.
of characters.
I actually like that where you see the city going to hell and everything getting blown up. It was more the God, did I freeze again? Or
no, you're there. Tim's just he's gone. He's gone.
It's funny when he goes away and he just like gets sucked into the vortex of Discord.
I don't like it, man. It scares me. He's gone now.
Did you watch Army of the Dead as well, Nick?
Hello? I did. I actually really enjoyed it. I thought it, and this is not going to come as any surprise for anyone that's heard me talk about Zack Snyder movies. I really think it could have used a little bit of editing, and it would have been a lot more fun. But I watched it from start to finish, and I think largely because I liked Batista and the daughter character, I like that dynamic. I was like, I'm in. I like this, and it's just a really clever, fun take on zombies.
Yeah,
so how could you not like it? It's a zombie heist movie. Come on.
Yeah, awesome. Exactly, right. And that was what I was when we were watching and talking about it. Like, I'm not a fan of when they try to like make the zombies evolved or whatever, or make them more than just zombies or whatever. But like the way they had it here with like there being like boss level zombies that are like smarter than the rest of the zombies. They have their own like little civilization going there. These aren't major spoilers for it. And then the fact that it's a heist, right? And it is all these different things. I enjoyed it. I thought like I don't know. Sorry, I don't know what's up with Discord today freezing on me. You were talking about what I thought was weird about it. It was more the like composition of shots. How like the weird focus, the complete blur behind
he
shit.
He really wanted it. He I guess, I mean, I read some random headline on it. I didn't dive too deep in the article, so chat, please feel free to correct me. But evidently he wanted to shoot the whole thing in really, really shallow focus to have it feel like that. And I guess he went after these things called Canon Dream lenses, which are like these like specialized lens that really you can throw them out of focus super easy. So I thought that was cool though. I like when people like coming in and then as they like recede back, they just go super blurry. That didn't bother me at all.
It didn't bother me. It was weird. That was the thing about it, where I thought like it actually detracted from it. Danny O'Dwyer had a great Twitter thread about it of like, this is ridiculous because you're watching it and like who's going to talk before they talk because they're the only person in focus or whatever. And it's like all that. But
yeah, I just thought that was kind of cool.
The way they did the backgrounds and stuff make the movie look weird. Like I feel at times it just doesn't look normal. It doesn't look like a normal film. So there was this part though where I'm watching and I'm like, and I know nothing about this movie. I've been completely blind on it, right? And I'm watching and I'm like, man, Tig Notaro doesn't look like she's in this shot. And then I was watching later and I was like, Tig Notaro, and I'm like, wait, she's not in these shots. And I was like, but what is going on? And then it was that she replaced this other comedian, Chris D'Elia.
Yeah,
right.
Chris D'Elia was in it, and they yanked him. But
apparently,
in order to basically put that character back in, they had to shoot Tig like separately. So that's why I think. And again, it's unfortunate, and this is a set of circumstances that you never want to find yourself in. Obviously, as a filmmaker or someone who's making something cool like that. But there are moments like where Tig, I think, knocked it out of the park. But then there's moments where they just shot her on top with the helicopter, and you're like, this scene just seems like it was plugged in here for no reason. And obviously it was, well, not for no reason, but probably for good reason. But
it's what it had to be to
kind of
replace this
tacked
guy,
on.
Right?
Yeah.
And
it was unfortunate
about,
because
like, what you do and starting the universe.
Yeah, I would have loved to have seen like Tig with them, right? I think Tig and Batista would have had a hilarious back and forth, and that would have been
even like
weird
that scene right where
cool.
her introduction scene where they roll up to her. And like that wasn't shot together.
Right.
Like there's this whole
Right.
article, right, of like how Batista's never actually met Tig Notaro.
Yeah.
And like they're, but like of them, they're back and forth with it where she's just, she's being Tig or whatever, of just like $2 million, I'll do it. Don't you want to know the downsides? No, of course I don't. It's hilarious. And it's like
sucks.
great just for delivery. Yeah. My life sucks.
I want $2 million.
My life.
Yeah, there was, I think that's unfortunate, but I think they managed to make something pretty fun. I mean, again, I think obviously Zack Snyder doing like Dawn of the Dead. That's one of I think is a great zombie movie. If you've never seen it, definitely check it out. This has a way more distinctive vibe to it, and a lot of the things that like the backgrounds, a lot of the CG and stuff that felt a little more cartoony, I kind of forgave just because it kind of the whole thing just feels so hyper real with the way it starts out and like all that stuff. I just wish it was like when you say, hey Tim, there's going to be a zombie heist movie. And you're like, great. And I say it's going to be 2 hours and 30 minutes long. Do you go, I don't need it to be 2 hours. It could be like maybe barely 2 hours or maybe like an hour 45. I don't need it to be that long. But I watch Batista, and I think the supporting cast did a great job. I don't know the other actors for the guy who was like the heavy and then the German safe hacker, but I thought they had some fun scenes. They could have cut some of those out, but they had some good dynamics.
Yeah, I mean, with that, Nick, I'm really interested in, and this is probably a topic for another podcast when we can go deeper into it, and maybe with Andy too, but I'm so interested in the way that content is changing because of services and the way things are, like with Spotify, with music. Like me and Greg were just talking about Olivia Rodrigo's album, and it's like just 30 minutes for the entire album, and it's 12 songs. It's just they're so short because they're trying to get those Spotify plays to make the Spotify list to blah blah blah. There's a whole thing in place for this, and then obviously with Netflix and all this shit, like people are thinking about movies differently, where it's like you can pause and come back the next day, almost treat it like TV, like episodic TV more than it's ever been done before with video on demand. And even with theaters being gone for the last year, I really think that that whole industry is going to kind of be reshaped based on the successes of streaming services, where I think we're going to see longer and longer movies even in theaters because people are just expecting that from these big blockbuster style things. And the way that these theaters are going to make money, I think, is going to start being less and less of the how many shows can we get in an auditorium each day, and it's going to be more on the premium upcharges of alcohol and subscription services and sorry, what?
Them big DCs.
Those Diet Cokes, all that stuff. Yeah, for sure. Like it's just, that's interesting to me as we look at MGM get bought by Amazon today.
Yeah,
and it's
crazy.
Just like
that news is nuts.
It's fucking crazy, and like I am struggling to understand that right now. Like they bought them for more money than Star Wars and Marvel combined.
Yeah,
like. I'm struggling to see the value of it because James Bond's the big thing, but they don't even own James Bond because of the way that the family works.
Yeah,
because
the Broccoli's. Are the Broccoli's going to retain ownership to that?
Totally. It's like, same shit. So it would make some sense if they're like, all right, we're going to get an Amazon Prime original James Bond series. But here it's like, okay, this is a play
never
for the...
let them do that.
Never.
There's no way the Broccoli's would let that happen.
Here's the library content, and I guess
Tim, you don't think Gone with the Wind is worth $8.95 billion? You don't think that's what you want to go? You don't want to see the sequel to Gone with the Wind? Hey, we're with the wind.
Prequel.
Still with the wind. I don't know. I mean, Amazon's making interesting choices when it comes to that stuff. I'm just vehemently sort of like against the idea of scaling content based on like marketability. And I know that sounds silly, of course, because you have to make $1, right? But the idea that you're going to tack on an extra 20 or 25 minutes to your movie just because that's what Netflix wants kind of seems like it's not really in service of the plot or the overall effect the movie's going to have on the end viewer, which should be the most important thing. I think that's a very short-term answer to a longer problem. And I don't know. I feel like it forces things like Army of the Dead, where there is just a lot more in there than it needs to be. And it brings up the problem of, well, am I pausing this because I need to go to the restroom and I don't have attention span? Or am I pausing this because there's so much extra shit in this that I'm just bored? Like it's losing my attention span because there's that character that's a side character now has an extra 15 minutes. And I'm like, I don't really, I mean, this is no disrespect to Tig, but that helicopter pilot should have been, it's just comic relief. You pepper it in and you're done. She wasn't the main character in the movie. I'm much more fascinated by Batista and like his background and all that stuff. So I don't know. Yeah, I just feel like this is a problem I have right now with documentaries specifically, because they keep putting out like 2 to 3 part documentaries. And I'm like, I just watched the one on opioids and I was fascinated by the first one. And then the second one, I was like, This could have been part of the first one. This does
So-
not need to be the second one. 3 hours
So
long.
you're talking about strictly from a streaming perspective, because like the Zack Snyder thing, like for me, I agree it was long. We split it into two, but like with Jen's pregnancy, we're splitting everything into two. She can only sit for like an hour before she's incredibly uncomfortable. But like that, I just chalked up to it's Zack Snyder, and like I'm sure they were like, fucking make the movie. We've seen what happens if we get in the way.
No,
like
with him, I think I think he had final edit on it, but I think he also shot the movie, so I think he was DP on this as well. So I think he
That's
just
what
didn't want
the
to.
chat
I
was
think
saying,
he didn't want to kill any of his darlings on that one, which I think was to the detriment of the film.
Yeah, sorry, just to make my point clear, it's like I think that Netflix is one of the things where it's like Netflix is not saying do this. I think they are giving the creatives full control, and I think it's the creatives are the ones that are like, well, I'm going to have everything in it.
Yeah,
then.
that's a bad idea.
I look at that last Blockbuster documentary, right?
Yeah.
That I was having a great time with, and then they like bring Doug Benson in the last like
then it's
30
why?
minutes for
30
like 20 minutes to
Benson
wander
making bad
around
jokes.
making jokes, and I was like, this is clearly like. That like we for some reason have gone an angle now to Doug Benson, put him in the movie so we can say Doug Benson's in the movie.
I think there's that, but I also think that in order to be considered a full-length documentary, you have to hit a specific runtime for festivals and stuff. So they may have done that for that one. That might have been an old school relic of that one. Yeah, but I don't know. I'm just like, I just feel like there's unless it's like a Scorsese movie, it doesn't need to be above 2 hours. Like I need you got to really enthrall me with the old narrative. But 2.5. If I sat through Army of Dead in theaters, I think I'd have a very distinctly different picture of it in my brain or opinion of it than actually being able to like kind of walk away when I lost my attention span or pick up my phone.
Sure. Yeah, that makes 100% sense.
But anyway,
I saw some article today,
it's fun.
Talking about how we're moving away from what the streaming model was, right? Of like not the death of, but like everybody's stepping back from bingeable content and moving back to actually dropping episodic stuff so we can have conversations. Obviously, we've made a career out of fucking reacting now to MCU shows, right? But like, I forget what the other one they were citing was a more recent one, and I think Handmaid's Tale, or was it always I don't know how Hulu did season ones or whatever.
They used to be dumps, but then Hulu's changed and adopted the more Amazon model of like here's 3 episodes at once and then it's going to be weekly. But then MODOK came out all at once. Like I do think that we're still in the experimental phase of trying to figure out what works for different products, even on the same streaming platform.
Yeah, and that's interesting to see because I know I was so pro bingeable stuff, and I guess for certain things I am, but like right now we're all caught up on Handmaid's Tale. We have been for seasons, but we're watching this one weekly, and being able to do that, and then obviously how much discussion and conversation we had, and maybe that was influenced too by COVID times of wanting to have something to gather around for all the MCU shows, but then at the same time like. We're watching Halston. Have you seen this? The Ewan McGregor Netflix show?
I fucking love Halston.
I thought it was so
good.
fucking good. But it's that same thing of like, I feel like I haven't talked to anybody about it, and we're gonna
Tim,
finish it tonight.
Would love it, actually. I think.
Huh?
Sorry, I'm just saying. Tim, you and G.
I'm just looking into it now.
Yeah, it's Ewan McGregor as the famous fashion designer Halston, and it's fucking great. Sorry, continue, Greg.
No, it's fine. That was a great point to make him in the middle of my point, Nick. I want you to go over there and scream into the pillow. All right.
Okay.
I'll wait. We'll wait. All right. Think about what you've done. Think about what you did.
He's thinking.
He's doing it. He did it. He learned his lesson. This is how you get him. You know what I mean? I'm proud of you, Nick. I'm proud of you.
Very static electricity, by the way. Now my hair's like.
Yeah, I didn't shower today. Somebody was complimenting how good my hair looked.
You gotta get a little nature's oil in that hair every once in a while. It thickens it up a little bit.
I'll tell you too. Like my hair is. I was looking at the curtains the mirror last night. My hair might be we're getting close to my hair being as long as it was. I think in college, like when I really let in, like the old Columbia, Missouri press pass I had, where it was
time for the mullet.
Off to the side.
Mullet now?
No, I got E3 in a couple weeks, and I can actually go now that I'm vaccinated to a real haircut.
Nah, you're fine.
Do that.
Sorry, what were we gonna say about Halston though?
Oh, that we're watching that and we love that show, and I feel like obviously I'm doing it right now, but I felt like I wasn't going to talk about that show. Like it was that, you know what I mean? It's like we weren't in the way I feel like you spread something out and make it weekly and it goes for 10 weeks or whatever. There's more of a chance and more of a conversation and more of have you seen this? You should catch up and let's have a conversation about it. Whereas like Halston's this 5-episode thing. We're gonna crush episode 5 tonight after starting it on Sunday or whatever, and then. Do we ever talk about that in a show? I guess we're talking about it now, but you know what I mean? In terms of like, we're talking about streaming rather than the content itself. I just feel like it should all be in service of like the end result, right? Or the story itself. So how you roll it out should be like, hey, is it like for Halston, it's perfect because Halston feels like a 5-part miniseries that you should watch back to back to back to get the full thing out of it. Tim and I just talked about MODOK. That's definitely one of those where. Is that worth me watching?
Tim would probably say yes.
It's funny, and like I think it's actually a really like good story, and it comes together really
Yeah.
well. But I don't think it's required viewing by any means. But you should watch the trailer if it makes you giggle at all.
Yeah, I feel like
Check
that,
it
but that one's one where it's like Hulu was smart to put it all out at once. Because if the first episode I don't think is the strongest episode, and I think if you're curious about the second one, you're gonna want that one immediately. And so I think the producers made that, or at least Hulu made the strong choice to put those all out.
Yeah, I agree totally. I mean, a funny thing with this release schedule is Netflix is dabbling in the weekly schedule for certain shows, and a lot of their reality shows, like this is kind of season 2 of the reality kind of foray. And we have Too Hot to Handle season 2 coming out in a couple weeks, and the last month was The Circle season 2. And they did a thing where it was weekly releases, but it was 4 episodes a week that they would release. So it was like kind of meeting in the middle of it's binge, but it's also staggered.
Yeah.
And personally, like it really didn't work for me, where it was clear what they were doing. Like the 4th episode always had the hook. It always had the cliffhanger where I'm like, fuck, I really want to watch next week's episode, but the 3 episodes in it didn't have that hook. It is just essentially watching 4 hours of one episode, really. And it's just funny where Gia and I were both just like, man, like even if it was 3 episodes, this would have felt a little bit more understandable. Like it's funny to me that like they must have the data, they must be looking at stuff, but this clearly feels like they're still experimenting. They're still trying to figure out like the use cases of how people not only consume the content, but then talk about the content, because that's promotion for the content for them, for all of it to continue.
Yeah, they tried that, I think, with like they've been trying that with a few other things. I think David Letterman's series, his interview series, which I absolutely love, was like week to week. But that's like a weird. I don't know why they made that call, because I'm like, this is really predicated on, do you want to hear? Are you interested in the person he's interviewing, not so much like a narrative storyline that's going through. Having said that, everyone should watch all the interviews because they're fucking phenomenal. Especially the
I think the reason there is because of, I mean, it's the simple headline and thumbnail game, right? Where they wanted to be able to give the spotlight, that main thing of
Obama,
Jay-Z and
Jay-Z,
Obama,
or Kanye,
and, exactly. It's like when you put them all out at once, you're kind of like
you kind of have to
choose or have like a montage or something. But
that's very true. That's very true. I would also tell everyone you should go watch the one where he did with Robert Downey Jr., where they mostly just walk around Robert Downey Jr.'s Malibu farm and pet his llamas. It's amazing. It's very lovely.
That's why I didn't like the David Letterman stuff. Is all the like, okay, we're gonna cut from the interview to a bunch of behind the scenes other shit.
I would prefer the interviews happen there than actually on stage.
And I would have been okay with that.
One of my other favorite series, you guys have heard me talk about ad nauseum, was Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee, and I just love taking people out of their environment, putting them just driving around, and just shooting the shit. It's so fun.
It is fun, ladies and gentlemen. Have you had fun on this episode of the Kind of Funny podcast? We hope so. The fun's not over. We're going to keep doing a post show over on patreon.com/kindoffunny. If you go to patreon.com/kindoffunny, you can get the show ad free. You can get it with the post show. You can be watching live as we record it, like Mike L, Dave Sapwell, and on a new name, Louise R. We thank you for your support. We love you. We appreciate you. If you have no books, toss our way. No big deal. You can get each and every episode on youtube.com/kindoffunny, roosterteeth.com, and podcast services around the globe twice a week. We'll be back on the next Kind of Funny podcast with another special guest, my mother. Woo! So get your questions in on patreon.com/kindoffunny for big old Jamie Kennedy rolling through on Friday. We'll be talking to her and posting it, on the rest of for the non-Patreon people Monday or whatever, or Tuesday, right? I think we actually
Tuesday, because we're taking Memorial Day off.
Something we don't do often, you know what I mean? Apparently there's legal things we need to do. I don't know. Kevin keeps coming at us with paperwork.
Kevin just squealed with glee. He was like, "Woo!"
I was trying to woo, and my throat
kind of came out as a little squeaky. I like it.
Woo! Wow.
Ladies and gentlemen, until next time, we got a post show to do. So it's been our pleasure to serve you.